What's your reaction to Princess Anne's comments?
Well, she's wrong. Gassing badgers is inhumane and it's ineffective. And indeed, it's not just the RSPCA who believes that, it's the scientists and in fact the government as well. They haven't even decided to use gassing because it doesn't work. And unfortunately, it does lead to a horrible death.
Well, she says it's a much nicer way that the badgers just fall asleep, but that's not the case, is it?
That's not the case. Badgers, of course, live underground in very large sets with a lot of small burrows which are very difficult for the gas to penetrate into. So you may get badgers which are not gassed at all, or you may get badgers which actually only receive half the gas that they need. So it is inhumane, and that's why it has been illegal in this country to use gassing for over 30 years. The government don't like it, the scientists don't like it, and the RSPCA is completely against it.
So why do you think Princess Anne thinks it's a good idea?
I think she's living in the past a little bit. We used to use gassing in the 70s, and we've moved on from there. We now have decided that it's inhumane. The government, thankfully, yesterday decided not to extend the badger cull into other areas. They know that shooting is inhumane because their own independent pilot showed that it was, and I think she's grasping at straws.
So what is the answer then? Obviously, the shooting cull hasn't worked, and gassing is obviously not an appropriate method. What can we do about the badger problem? I mean, it is a problem. Princess Anne is a farmer herself. She lost 2/3 of her cattle to TB.
Yes, the RSPCA is extremely sympathetic to dairy farmers. Bovine TB is a horrible disease, and we need to get rid of it. However, what we need to do is look at Wales and Northern Ireland, where they're not using lethal means of controlling badgers at all. What they're doing is vaccinating badgers against bovine TB, and they're also extending cattle controls, because don't forget that badgers and cattle give the disease to each other. And indeed, cattle may probably give their own cattle the disease much more than badgers. So we need to control the way that we move cattle around the country, and we need to vaccinate the badgers. That's much more humane and it's much more effective.
And of course, this isn't the first time that Princess Anne has made comments surrounding animal welfare. I think last November it was that she said we should be eating horse meat. I mean, what do you feel about members of the royal family making comments like this? Do you wish they would keep their opinions to themselves, perhaps? Well,
actually, ironically, the RSPCA agreed with her last year. We needed to have a really good discussion about horse meat because there are far too many horses in this country, and we need to work out what's the best method and the most humane method of actually reducing the horse population. So I think it's good to sometimes air these issues and get them out in the open. Unfortunately, in this case, Princess Anne is wrong. The science has moved on, and so has the government, fortunately. And we need to look at ways of using humane methods and not going back to the past.